and welcome back to Sportshire. I'm your host, Griff McClellan, and today I'm joined by guest Rob Adler.
No, Griff.
In today's episode, we will dive into the upcoming Super Bowl. Let's start. Let's talk about the New England Patriots. This is their 9th Super Bowl appearance under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. What do you want to say about them?
I mean, it's tough to find a better duo of quarterback and head coach.
It's lasted this long, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's actually 17 years to the day, this Super Bowl, since their first Super Bowl.
Against the Rams.
Against the Rams, exactly. So, I mean, it's tough to bet against them. You know, a lot of people want to, including myself. But, you know, you have to give them, you might not like them, but you have to give props to what they've been able to do, you know, in almost 2 decades of dominance in a league that has been set up to make it fair for everybody, you know, with the salary caps, with the way that the draft is set up. So it's amazing what they've been able to do.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the Patriots, all the scandals they've been involved in. They don't like their success. For whatever reason it is, people just hate on them. But you have to respect their success. Brady's won 5 Super Bowls, looking to add a 6th. No quarterback has ever come close to that. It's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this season they went 11-5, which is still a pretty good record. But amazingly enough, it was their worst record in 9 years.
It's amazing, too, because their worst record in 9 years, there's a lot of franchises that would kill for a record like this. You know, and for it to be a quote-unquote disappointment and only get the 2nd seed for the playoffs is, you know, it's another thing to go with their dominance over the past two decades.
Yeah, they were underdogs against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Clearly they didn't deserve to be underdogs. They were clearly the better team.
Absolutely.
I think.
I mean, I feel like, you know, it was the underdogs. It was a -3 spread. But really, that's almost, you know, for any playoff team, that's just the home team, almost like home field advantage. You know, it wasn't like it was a touchdown or anything like that. You know, I feel that they kind of played the underdog a little bit, you know, just to get themselves riled up. But, you know, a lot of times as athletes, they need that, you know, need that little extra fire.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams now, the other team in the Super Bowl. What would you say about them? Do they have a good chance against the Patriots, or are the Patriots just too strong right now?
I think they do. I feel that if the defensive line, namely Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, could get pressure on Brady and make him uncomfortable in the pocket and disrupt the power run game, then that's where their best chance is.
Yeah, the Rams had a great season. They were 13-3. They were the 2nd seed. They lived up to all the preseason hype. The Patriots, as we said earlier, they weren't necessarily the better team all season long, but lately they've been on fire. And
as like you noticed the past couple of years, the Patriots, you know, probably the past 3 years, and they've been in the Super Bowl, they've started a little sluggish.
Exactly.
You know, everybody says, oh, is this the year they finally break down? Is this the year that Brady becomes human? But then, you know, by week 5, week 6, you know, it's just back to the same old Patriots.
Exactly. You're right. They do tend to start out slow, then they always find their way. This is their 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance, their 4th in 5 years.
I mean, right there, that says a lot.
Exactly. Speaking of back to the Rams, they had an interesting finish to get to the Super Bowl. They started off undefeated, 9-0. They were the last remaining undefeated team. Then they hit a late season slump, losing to all playoff teams before the postseason began. Then they played pretty well. Then they barely escaped New Orleans with that no call. Would you say that was the worst no call in the history of the NFL?
That I've ever seen, you know. I feel, you know, with enough refs there, too, on the field, someone should have been able to step in and say. But that also goes to the fact that in the playoffs, they're using all-star sets of officials instead of actual groups like that have been together all year. So when you have all these people that aren't as comfortable with each other as, let's say, the guys that they've been officiating games with all season, you know, they might be a little more defensive about someone else telling them about the calls that they should make, whereas someone that they might trust and work with all the time and have a very good understanding with would tell them that they should have made that call.
I think it was definitely one of the worst no calls I've ever seen. I agree with that. The Saints, however, I mean, it says they should have won, because they should have had the penalty called against the Rams. They didn't get it. They had the ball at the goal line, close to the goal line, and they had a chance to win. They were tied, but they couldn't execute well. And instead of bleeding out the clock and perhaps kicking a game-winning field goal, they only took off 9 seconds, and then it led to the Rams' game-tying kick, and then their game-winning kick in overtime.
Precisely. It wasn't not like it was the last play of the game. You know, it was a terrible call, and it was one play, but they still had some time at the end, and they still had overtime. You know, you can't blame one season on one bad call. Mm-hmm. You know, you should win. You should be able to win a game by more than that. But with that being said, it was still a terrible, terrible missed call. It
was, yeah. But in the NFL, mistakes are made by the refs a lot. Teams just have to learn to move on from them eventually.
Exactly. You're all human. You can't have robots out there, you know, using any kind of technology to call the, you know, it's the human error element of the game.
Mm-hmm. And now back to the AFC title game. There are also some questionable calls. For instance, that roughing the passer call on Tom Brady, which was barely a tap on the shoulder.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, the Patriots definitely got away with that.
Mm-hmm. And then they got a couple calls reversed in there, you know, on their side as well. There was the flubbed kick with Edelman, which I don't know. I don't think he touched it.
I don't think he did. It looked awfully close.
But I don't think there was enough proof to overturn it at the call that was made on the field that he did touch it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my only issue with that call. You know, I don't think, like I said, I don't think he touched it, but I don't think there was enough proof to overturn a call.
There were a lot of calls made at the end of the game that could have made the game go one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Patriots ended up winning in overtime. They got the ball first in overtime, and the Chiefs never even saw the field.
Yeah, once Tom Brady got his hands on the ball in overtime, it was just total dominance. So just down the ball, throwing it to Gronk.
What do you think? Are the overtime rules unfair in the NFL?
You know, with games like that where it's like you're so fast, like they didn't even have a chance, maybe I see for regular season, but in the playoffs where there's so much on the line, you know, and these are such good teams, you know, they maybe want to do something different or just make it a fifth quarter.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. The sudden death rule with the touchdown first wins the game unless it's a field goal, I think it needs to change. I think the NFL should adopt the college football rule. That's just me. Both teams get it, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. I think it would make it fair for both teams.
Absolutely.
Who both have had great seasons and deserve to play in the Super Bowl, but it shouldn't come down to unfair officiating.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just like you said, just one team getting the ball and then the other team not even having a chance to, you know, to make it even, you know, just seems like a little unfair.
Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe this year's Super Bowl might go to overtime as well. Might be a great all-time finish. The only Super Bowl, the only other one that went to overtime was the Patriots-Falcons 2 years back, when the Patriots came back from 25 and then rallied in overtime.
That was a great game.
The Falcons ought to have won, but Tom Brady got away with another championship.
Yeah, exactly. Edelman made another amazing catch and maybe some questionable play calling at the end by the Falcons as well.
Yeah. This Super Bowl, though, there's a lot on the line here, a lot of big storylines. I think the biggest one is all about youth versus experience. Mm-hmm. The Patriots' experience is heavily favored for them. Obviously, like we said earlier, this is their 9th Super Bowl appearance under Brady and Belichick, their 11th overall. The Rams, they're a pretty young team. Sean McVay is the youngest Super Bowl coach in NFL history. Mm-hmm. And the combined age between McVay and Jared Goff, the quarterback, is 57 years. The combined age between Brady and Belichick is 107 years. That's a 50-year gap between the two.
Absolutely.
I've never seen anything like this.
It is crazy, especially with, you know, the way McVay has just kind of come onto the scene and really, like, you know, brought a new youth to the whole head coaching position where it used to be, you know, you had to be a seasoned, you know, veteran in football to even be considered for a head coaching position. Mm-hmm. But there is still some experience, you know, behind the scenes in LA. They have Wade Phillips as their defensive coordinator, you know, he's been coaching in the NFL for 10 years longer than McVay's been alive.
That's right.
So they've got a little bit, you know, they've got that on the defensive end. And it's funny because he's going against Josh McDaniels, who's kind of the young guy on the Patriots team. So it's kind of funny how those guys are going to have their own little game going between Josh McDaniels' offense and Wade Phillips' defense.
For sure. What's weird to think is Julian Edelman and Sean McVay played each other in college once. Goes to show the huge difference there.
Absolutely. One went to the pros, and then one just, McVay just went right from college and started coaching, and he kind of knew the path that he was supposed to be on.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? What can we expect? What kind of game do you think this is going to turn out to be?
I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fast-paced game. I feel like both offenses are going to come in and really try to run the ball and control the clock, and then let their quarterbacks score at the end. I think Gronkowski is going to be a huge part of this game. I mean, this could be all betting, probably his last professional football game.
There's talk about retirement.
He's talked about retirement for years. His family's been pushing him to retire with all of his injuries. I mean, if they would have won last year, he probably would have retired then. And then after this year, with them trying to possibly trade him to Detroit midseason, I feel that him and Brady have such a connection. He said that Tom Brady's his quarterback. That I think Tom Brady will let him have like the game of his life, and then he can, if they win, then Gronk will go out on top.
Gronk has a history of getting injured, especially in the postseason as well. So you never know. It could be his last game. We know certainly for Brady's case, he was asked yesterday on NFL Countdown if Super Bowl 53 is by any chance his last game. You know what his response was? 0.
0%.
Absolutely no way. So he's still going strong.
No, yeah, he still says 45 every game I've ever seen. He said, "I'll play until I'm 45." And I mean, the way he's played, it's not like a lot of other quarterbacks that went out like Elway and Manning after winning Super Bowls. They were kind of on the decline. Like, Manning won that Super Bowl because he had an amazing defense.
He hardly did anything in that run that year.
Yeah. Elway had Terrell Davis running the ball for him. But Tom Brady, he's the one doing it. They're still playing at this level, and he's the one playing at the highest level on the team. So there's really, no point except for his family, family pressure.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to win it? Rams or Patriots?
I'm thinking Rams.
Upset. I call that an upset, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely an upset. I think it'll be a lot of scoring early. Second and third quarter will be very quiet. They'll kind of figure each other out.
Yeah.
And then they'll start bringing the tricks out in the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter always seems to be interesting in the Super Bowl, especially the last few years with the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
Every Patriots Super Bowl they've played in the 21st century has been decided by one score or less. So I think based on that stat, we'll get a classic this year.
Absolutely.
And last year, the Patriots lost by 8 points, which is their largest loss under Brady and Belichick in the big game, amazingly enough. And the two teams, Philadelphia and New England, combined for 1,152 total yards, the most in any NFL game, regular season or not, postseason or not. So it's remarkable. It goes to show.
Yeah, it was an amazing game with a lot of offense. And both teams were trying to pull out all the stops. That's how you could tell it's a good game when they're doing these crazy plays that are outside of their wheelhouse or their comfort zone. That's how the other team's kind of got a good idea of what they're working with and makes them think on their toes a little bit more.
I think the Patriots are playing lights out right now. They seem unstoppable. Tom Brady is somehow getting better with age every year. It's amazing how he does it. And I just think they're too good right now. The Rams will put up a fight, certainly, but I've learned to never doubt Tom Brady. So I have to pick the Patriots to win this one.
Yeah, and for me, it's not if the Patriots can win another one. It's can the Rams beat the Patriots? It sounds like a funny play on words, but you have to beat that team. You have to beat Brady and Belichick, not just win the game.
Exactly. And as you mentioned earlier, 17 years to the day, it was Patriots versus Rams, the first Super Bowl in this dynasty. Who knows? Maybe this is the start of the Rams' potential.
Exactly. It could be the
future.
The changing of the guard.
They could be the next dynasty as well. I'm going with 34-27 Patriots.
34-27. I've actually got almost the same exact score. I've got 33-27.
Rams.
Thinking whoever's got the ball last, maybe the Rams, scores that last touchdown to win it.
I can't wait to see that. That'll be an exciting finish. Let's switch gears a little bit now. Let's talk about MVP of the regular season. The two front runners right now are Patrick Mahomes, who in his first full year starting threw for 50 touchdowns, which is incredible. And there's Drew Brees as well, another remarkable season. Who do you think is going to win MVP this year?
I think it's going to be Mahomes, just because he kind of came out of nowhere. And Breeze, he's on a quality team. He's got he's got a great coach. Both of them are great teams, actually. To correct myself.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have so many weapons, and so do the Saints, and they both have two Hall of Fame coaches. But I feel the way that Patrick Mahomes kind of came on the scene, and he's kind of the new style quarterback. He's like a shortstop quarterback. I think just the way that he's almost kind of changed the game in 1 year with just how people are looking at that he's going to get it.
I agree. I think it should be Mahomes. He changed the winning culture in Kansas City. They had made it to the playoffs before with Alex Smith. The one thing they could never do, though, was win in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes got them their first home playoff win in 25 years. This year they fell short to the Patriots. They'll be back, though.
Absolutely.
I think. They'll definitely be the Patriots' biggest AFC threat next year, maybe the year after that. So
years to come, with all the other weapons with Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. That team is just, it's made for the next 5 to 10 years.
Drew Brees also deserves MVP. He carried his team again. They fell short as well, but I think it's going to be Mahomes. And initially I figured it would all come down to which one of those was in the Super Bowl, or if both of them. Because they're both not, it's harder to choose, but I think it should be Mahomes.
That was actually the Super Bowl that I had picked, too, was
Chiefs,
the Saints. Chiefs.
That would have been a great game, too.
Yeah, I like Mahomes. I had him on my fantasy team this year, so he was definitely a great player, number one player in the league. So.
That was a great decision to put him on your team.
Yeah. But I think he's going to get it, And then, his first MVP for his first year as a starting quarterback says a lot, too, about a player and his future in the league.
At the start of the year, I initially figured Kansas City was going to be all right. They weren't going to be great right away. I saw what Mahomes can do on the field. He played in Week 17 the previous year. He was lights out. But I just wasn't sure if it was enough to carry his team all the way. I was wrong, though.
Absolutely, yeah. The Saints, the Rams, and the Patriots were all in everybody's, top teams of the, preseason. And everybody knew that the Chiefs were going to be good because if Andy Reid was going to let someone like Alex Smith go for Mahomes, you have to know that he's quality. So they're going to be at least as good as they were last year. But nobody thought they were just going to come out, especially early in the season, the way they dominated some teams. His first threw for almost 5 touchdowns his first game against the Chargers, who have a quality defense.
Yeah.
Right there, I think that was the wake-up where everybody knew that something special was going on.
Yeah, he threw 6 touchdowns against the Steelers in Week 2. He lit up the scoreboard all year long. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah, the high-flying offense.
All right, any closing remarks? Anything else before the Super Bowl happens next week?
I think it's going to be a great game. I feel like it's going to be all about, the small little games going on. Like I said, like the Josh McDaniels, Wade Phillips. There's a couple key matchups on both sides of the ball. Gronk going against Talib. As well as Gilmore going against Brooks. These are all people, all of them have been on the Patriots, Talib and Brooks. So these are all guys that have practiced against each other, played with each other, for years. So they know how they play, so it'll make defending and, running their routes just that much harder.
Speaking of Talib, he and C.J. Anderson have Super Bowl experience. Only a few guys on that team have it. So clearly the Patriots, that's initially what led me to pick them, experience.
Absolutely.
Even if they were underdogs before, experience is the most important factor.
Exactly. It's a huge stage. And it's not just the game, it's all week. They're there now. All week they've got these press junkets and, that's a lot, that can, especially if you're a young player, that can, kind of mess with your psyche or you can't get focused on the game where the Patriots have done this so much that it's just another week for them. They've got it all down. They know not to let it get to them. It should not, don't let all the hype go and just,
All right, I hope it's a great game.
I'm banking on it.
Yeah, I think it will be a great game. I think it would be great if the Rams won, just because people get tired of seeing the Patriots win. But at the same time, even if you don't like the Patriots, you do have to respect their success.
Absolutely. You definitely do. We're never going to see this again. Definitely not in football, maybe not in any other sport.
And just to add, lastly, Brady has 40 career playoff wins. The second most is 27 by Peyton Manning. It says a lot. Peyton Manning's all-time great as well, but Tom Brady has just surpassed everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about the records for Brady. You know, he doesn't have might not have the passing and the touchdown records, but he's got the wins, the losses, and the legacy.
Exactly. All right, that wraps up for today. Thank you for watching Sportshire. I hope you all enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll see you next time.